This episode of Inside Golf Podcast is brought to you by Inside Sports Network.
What's up, everybody? It's your boy, Boston Capital, Twitter Steve on the Hold the Green podcast.
All right, we are live. Tap in, birdie.
All right, Carson Young is here.
I bet Ludwig at 28.
Let's go. I bet
You
him
did
at,
too?
I bet him at 25.
Low sevens. I think there's some guys in here we like.
Harris English at 7,300.
I love Brian Harmon at 3.5% this week.
What's up, guys? It's producer Cam here. ISN is now partnered with Shorty's Golf. Shorty's Golf is designed to provide kids with the perfect introduction to the game of golf by offering high-quality clubs and equipment specifically tailored to their need. They offer custom sizes for various age groups, ensuring that the kids have clubs that are tailored to their height and strength. They feature fun, vibrant colors and lightweight stand bags that are easily adjustable. Each set features real stainless steel clubs, high-quality materials, and sturdy construction, making them long-lasting while providing a real golf experience. So go check them out, golfshorties.com. Use ISN15 at checkout for $15 off your purchase.
What's up, everybody? It's your boy Capper with Twitterless Steve doing a little PGA recap and going over the Colonial for next week. Another Saturday in golf with another absolute drip and non-exciting golfer wins. It's terrible for the sport, great for the fucking rando old men who fall asleep on the couch at 2:00 in the afternoon. But people who appreciate like exciting golf, not so much. Hi, Steve.
Hi, I'm glad you're in a chipper mood.
Yeah,
I'm glad your wrists also are intact and healthy.
Good.
Yeah, great, thanks.
Good.
I was worried it's gonna be a solo show going forward. You know what? I cash your tickets, by the way. Capper's opening line just craps all over Scotty Scheffler about being boring and terrible for the sport. Congratulations to all the minus 5,000 bettors who thought that was going to be his opening line. Congratulations to you.
He's so boring.
Okay.
He's boring.
You want to just get it off your chest?
Right.
Get off your chest then. Get off your chest.
Why
mean, exactly?
Wrong, right? Am I crazy?
Boring?
Like, he's just boring. Like he never takes like an exciting shot, like ever. Like he luck boxes everything. Which I get as a Patriots fan, like this must have been maddening for everyone else because we got all the breaks too. And when you're winning, it just seems like you get all the breaks. But my God, did he get some breaks this weekend? Look, he clearly dusted the fucking field, right? Like he was gonna win without those breaks, but he's just boring, man. Like there's nothing exciting. His personality is fucking as vanilla as it comes. His backstory sucks. There's nothing exciting about that. He's milquetoast. His golf game is like a robot. He doesn't show any emotion. He doesn't make any exciting shots. Whatever. Like he doesn't. He's a blip on the fucking like excitement scale.
Okay. I mean, when you're that good and when you basically are just putting every single iron shot to about 15 feet, or just when it's predetermined that he's going to get up and down from pretty much anywhere, yeah, it's going to seem boring. It's not going to be like Jordan Spieth where everything is like a movie. Like, how does the hero get out of this one? You're just going to boot it around the golf course and he doesn't hit it the longest, but I mean, I don't know. I don't really mind watching that type of golf on my TV. It sucks when he dominates fields. Although today was interesting. It definitely did not start out well for him.
It was interesting for 10 minutes. 10 minutes it was interesting.
That's not true. It was interesting for about it was interesting for about an hour because it was very clear he did not have his good stuff today, at least on the front.
He didn't have his good stuff, but he still had the drivable par 4 and the par 5 coming up. Like when we were thinking that it was going to be anything. When you like, it was getting interesting, and I put it back on, and it was interesting for 10 minutes. And I went back to doing my dishes, cleaning my house. I had it on the background and made my hard-boiled eggs for the week. Went to the bedroom, started ironing my clothes because it's a predetermined outcome, and it's not exciting.
Well, I mean, I think you and we've obviously covered Scotty for a lot of years now. And the one thing we have noticed is that he can run very hot on the golf course when things start going wrong and things are definitely not, clicking for him. And the front nine, especially with that driver, was not going well for him. His iron shots weren't crisp either. He wasn't all that great around the green. Like he had his probably like C- game
Easy.
You know,
But I mean, he
Yeah.
hit the cat path and he got an extra 75 yards, perfect lie, fucking into the trees, perfect lie on the pine straw. Like it's just that it's the Scotty shit, man. It's just and listen, as somebody who's never gonna bet Scotty at fucking 3-1, and I don't enjoy watching him golf because I think his personality blows and I don't particularly like him. So it makes golf very unfun for me. And so I was thinking about this. I think I texted it to you. Maybe I texted it to Tommy. I was like, I don't even know why I like golf. Like, I don't like 90% of the people. I don't like 90% of the people who play it, right? I don't. Like, if you think about all the guys I hate, it's way more than I hate than I like. I hate the coverage. I hate the fucking pundits. I just like the sport, like itself. Like, everything else about it, I don't like. I really don't. Like, the coverage is awful. Like, ESPN and CBS, what an atrocity. That was an abortion of a major. How many vignettes? I mean, I thought that the Country Club was bad, but with the one with Fitzy won, with all the little cute vignettes they wanted to shove down our throat. Did you know Scotty got arrested? Did you know that? Did you know that guy made T-shirts? Holy fucking shit! Like I just can't. Like with the majority of what goes on with this fucking sport, it makes me fucking insane. Like I questioned today, like why I like it. Like I really did. Like I was like, why do I watch this? Like I just get angry.
Well, you like it when your golfers do well. You like it when your DFS lineups cash. You like it when you win outrights. That's basically why you like golf at this point. If golf gambling didn't exist, I don't know if you and I would be doing. We definitely wouldn't be doing a podcast because you probably be doing a Patriots gambling podcast over on our other network. So, but my point with Scotty was we have seen him short circuit on the golf course when things just don't go his way and he gets kind of the emotions get the best.
Oh, he had a mud ball this week. Did you hear that? That's another reason these fucking guys are so insufferable.
All right, that's another topic. Can I make my point, please? My point is the way he self-corrected on the golf course today to get back on track. Like sometimes we haven't seen that out of Scotty. Like we have seen some meltdowns. Like I've been on the wrong end of that stuff when I've had bets on Scotty. And it just snowballs and snowballs. The problem is we don't see it all that often because he's so consistent that when he actually starts short circuiting, we're like, what the hell is going on? Which is kind of what happened today. So the fact that he was able to right himself was very impressive. But yeah, like overall, like this, I'm happy it got kind of interesting with Rahm, and we can talk about Bryson a little bit, what could have been. I think after hearing some comments, I have a little bit different take about what happened at the end of Saturday that maybe we can talk about. But listen, he boat raced the fields, kind of like what we talked about. I was scared of Scotty this week. I had said if I didn't bet Bryson already, I probably would just single bullet Scotty. And maybe that means to me that's 2 straight majors where I wish I didn't place any future bets in December because that cost me.
Do that anymore.
I'm not actually serious, but I'm kind of serious. I'm not happy about it, but yeah, I mean, this is basically what we talked about. There was a lot of weird names to start off the tournament, and by the end of it, the cream rose to the top like every other PGA, and best player in the world won. And at the end, it was best player in the world, top 5 player in the world, another top 7 player in the world, basically duking it out with everybody else kind of just there. So
and look, I don't know. It's I guess what everybody said was true, other than it wasn't Rory, it was Rahm, right? It was a 3-horse race. So yeah, Rahm. I mean, Christ, Rahm finally showed up and did something. That's nice to see for a Rahm guy. Like that made me happy. The U.S. Open coming up. Probably excited about that. And what I really liked about him, so I want to hear about what your comments were about like Saturday. Like I because I can't stay in golf media, I don't listen to a lot of the pressers because I become enraged and my head starts throbbing and it's either a heart attack or a stroke that's going to come. But with Rahm talking about, he acknowledged that he has gotten breaks over the years and like that he's hungry for a major and maybe he's finally, I don't know, come to grips with the decision he's made, and maybe he's focusing on the golf now. I don't know. I liked his approach and his comments anyway.
Yeah. I mean, I liked his approach on the golf course. Obviously, he played great, but he went for it at the end. I know this impacted a lot of DFS lineups because he completely imploded on 17, 18, but he knew that he had to make something happen on 17. That was a dangerous pin to go at with that wind coming from right to left. And that's not his natural shot shape.
Yeah, it took too much.
And with that
coffee.
firm green, he had to try and get it close to make something happen, and he just overdrew it, and that was
I get
the
it.
end of him.
Like, listen,
Yeah.
So you got to think about that, right? You got to think about that sometimes when like you have these golfers, and it's like you want guys who shoot for the pins, and then at the end of it, like when you're like, oh no, like if he fucks this up, I'm gonna lose a ton of money in DFS. Like that's a different type of feeling. I didn't have that because I got 6 of 6s through in my single entries where it was like less than 3%. And what did I text you earlier? Like the 5 or 6 of them went like 14 over, 18 over. I have never run worse. I have never run worse on a weekend where I have gotten a 6 of 6 through. I was very unhappy. Bunch of spineless losers. This whole thing. So I think that's my main. I guess maybe that's my main problem with golf, right? So this generation of just wimpy little fucking like they just don't know how to win, or they don't care to win. Maybe their bank accounts are too stuffed. Like there's only a handful of closers. Everybody else, a bunch of limp dick losers, and they don't know how to finish. They don't know how to win. Like, and I sound so old. And I used to get mad when I'd hear certain people talk about it, but like Nicholas knew how to close, Palmer knew how to close, Tiger knew how to close. Like none of these other guys, like if you have money on these guys, who do you think can actually close it? Who's going to shit down their leg? 95, 98% of these guys are just going to shit down their leg. And it's awful to watch. It's just like, how are they such mental midgets? All of them. Like the sport as a whole, it's fucking insane.
Well, is it just the illusion of just what golf is? I mean, it's a 150-man field, and there's only one winner. So already 99% of the field is going to crap on their legs.
But
and then you just mentioned
nobody even put pressure.
Three of the best players of the world. How many thousands of pro golfers has there been? Like they're all spineless because it's just the illusion of just what the sport is. And there's things that happen that we can't really perceive. Like, for example, we're gonna transition to Bryson now. You and I were extremely upset in the moment of what happened on 17. But and listen, it's Bryson. You got to just take him at his word, but it was really windy and it was swirling winds. And apparently what happened was as soon as he hit the ball, the wind switched on him, and the shot he thought he was going to hit it didn't work at that point. He thought the wind was going to help him. It hurt him, and he ended up putting the water. And like, that's just the sport we bet on, man.
Can I ask you why was he not able to drop over on the green, even though it hit on the green?
No, it's you got to go to the drop zone.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, you couldn't do that. Same thing with Rom. He had to go to the drop zone too. So, yeah, and then on 18 as well, he was in the bunker and the wind just switched on him. It was supposed to be coming out of the, I'm trying to think of the map, left to right, and it switched on him. It came out directly into him. Like,
yeah, whatever.
There are things that happen in the sport where we blame the golfer in the moment. And there's a lot of guys that I bet on that I definitely can blame. Hello, Patrick Cantlay. I'm back in the home. Thank you very much. We'll get to him maybe in a little bit.
How funny was that text? How funny was that text I screenshotted you, by the way?
That was pretty funny. But these are just the things that we think are loser mentality and loser behavior when it really could just be like anything you and I could experience on the golf course. We hit a shot, we're like, where the hell did that wind come from? And took a bad bounce, and it just kind of.
I don't blame the wind for Bryson losing. I blame his awful fucking iron play. And I know that was bad. We were in the Discord yesterday. So I think it was Devin, told me like he gained strokes putting. I was like, I don't care what he gained on the field. That's just a stat. I watched him miss three under 12 footers, right? And one was like a bunny, like fucking within 4 feet. So like that strokes gain data, once again, that can lie to you. The data can lie to you, right? Because he gained on it, but he also should have made those, or at least made an effort. Like they weren't even close. And today he was fucking putting like a blind man too. It was crazy. Like his iron play, what happened? Why are they so bad?
I mean, we looked at it for a tournament. They haven't been very strong on live either. It's been all off the tee, but his wedge play has been pretty mediocre. He had a terrible wedge today.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
It just airmailed it by about 30 feet. I don't care if he was trying to spin it back. Like, that was not the shot.
Wasn't even close.
It wasn't close. I'm torn on him because I've gone back and forth about Bryson on firm, fast, crispy greens. Mm-hmm. And now I have prominent examples in my head of when he has risen to the occasion on them and prominent examples of when he has absolutely melted when that's happened, mostly at Augusta. But now this is another example of those greens got pretty firm and quick over the weekend. And those were some very tentative putts. That he
Shout out to
was
Quail too,
making
by the
today.
way. Holy shit. Like with all that rain, good on them. They produced a really good golf course for the week. I know certain people don't like Quail and things like that, but they put together a good tournament, held that course. It did not become a -20 fest. So, I mean, everybody, second place was -6. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they did a good job. They did a good job.
Yeah, I mean, like we get on this, we grade the golf course, which is more about the architect, but then there's the people that actually are the maintenance staff and the
those guys did a great
superintendents.
job.
Like those guys,
Great job.
did a great job this week. They got 5 inches of rain. They were behind the 8 ball. They could not mow either. Keith Wood, hat tip to Keith Wood and everybody on that maintenance crew. They got the golf course still in that condition. Subber helps, but a lot of it was also the new greens. But besides Thursday with the mud balls, which it is what it is, guys.
Nothing fucking triggers me more to hate people than that. Like, you have mud on your ball. Okay, fucking deal with it. It's not gonna go exactly where you want to go. So you got to figure out something else. Fucking hit a shorter club, lay it short. Don't try to make the perfect shot because it's not going to be the perfect shot. Deal with it. It's adversity. That's I get being in a divot, and that sucks. Like, I think about Paul Casey. Thank God, I'm glad he ended in a divot for my Cam Smith ticket. But see, that's bullshit. Like, that is a bad rule that everybody can get behind. Like, you shouldn't have to fucking play it. It's dumb. I don't know why it exists. But guess what? If you get mud on the ball, you get mud on the ball. It's just part of the fucking game. Like, suck it up. Don't cry about it.
Yeah, I mean, I know you ripped the coverage, but Curtis Strange actually had a good take on it, saying, well, it's unfortunate, but there's just certain shots you can't hit when you have mud on the ball, and you have to adjust.
Okay, perfect. Point. Exactly what I just said.
Yeah,
love it.
Yeah, so the ESPN crew, the Jeff Darlington, let's make Scotty's arrest all guy? About me video was terrible.
Is that the redneck guy? The NASCAR guy?
I don't know. That's Marty Smith. That's the other guy.
He's the worst. He's the worst interviewer.
All right. Curtis Strange and SVP had some good stuff.
SVP's great. I love SVP.
Yeah, SVP had he realized that his producers were idiots spending so much time on the Scotty arrest and not showing golf. He's like, I know there's people out there saying like, just show golf shots. I'm like, all right, at least you get it, sir.
Yeah, exactly.
So he also referenced data golf. He also referenced data golf. Like, that was good. Like, thank you for at least acknowledging that product exists, that you can actually use that to analyze instead of thinking, it's gonna be a +1 cut when we know it's gonna like +3.
SPP is the sole person at ESPN for a very long time who gets it. He does the gambling show. He's plenty of degenerate friends, so I'm sure he understands.
Let's talk about some other guys on the leaderboard. Honestly, if you quiz me like next year who finished top 10, like there are some
goobers, man.
How did Taylor Pendrith get all the way up to T5? I don't think I saw like 3 shots of him this week.
I don't think I did either.
Nothing.
He played well today.
Yeah, I mean, he's a popular pick for Oakmont in about a month. So, showing some good form. Everybody loved betting him early in the year too. So maybe that can play well. Harris English, loved him before the tournament. And T2 probably should have won a little more than just the top 40, but I try and win the same amount on a positional anyway, so it didn't really matter. He played great today. 6 under. Yep.
Yeah. I'm very upset I didn't play him in DFS.
Yeah. How about your favorite Johnny Vegas? The first ever bet you laid on our show at the Wyndham was Johnny Vegas outright.
That sounds right.
I think he was DFL after round 1.
He was.
Yep. There you go. You got Joaquin Neiman, first career top 10. Congratulations. Not relevant at all in this tournament, but hey, listen, you gotta crawl. You gotta crawl before you walk. So
he looked good today, though, for the most part. And like, I guess, listen, if you're a Neiman backer or a stan, like, it was good to see, right? Like he was performing well at a tough track. So, it was good to see.
Yeah. And next year, we're going to Aronimink, which unless they make the fairways like 15 yards wide, is probably going to be a signature event plus event too. Definitely some similarities to the cricket club that we just saw as well. So we'll see how tough they can make it. But hey, maybe Joaquin Neiman can be good over there too. Some bentgrass greens as well. So we'll see. But yeah, top 10 for him. Yeah. I mean, how'd you do betting wise this week? Did you get blanked or?
No, not great, Bob. I don't know.
Not great?
I haven't actually gone in and looked at it yet. I was more concerned
All
about
right.
because listen, I still did good at DFS because I got the 6-6 through. But man, like I went from winning lots of money to being like, fine.
Yeah. Somehow I ended up for the tournament. Thank you, Corey Connors,
You
for nutting up today.
You hit your score bet.
I did barely. I'm glad I got in early, 273.5. It got adjusted down to 271.5 once everybody else opened, but DraftKings was hanging 273.5 for at least like 36 hours. So I was putting in the bat signal in the Discord. That is why you should join ISN, become a premium member. You would have noticed, and I would have told everybody. Actually, a couple of people ended up middling that score as well. They took the over 271.
Damn, that's tough to do. Middling a golf total score. Holy shit.
There was a couple guys that asked about it. I didn't want to be too greedy because I was just really sure about the 273.5, and it barely got there. I didn't expect it to play as difficult as it did on Thursday, and I didn't expect the wind on Saturday as well. But yeah, it's odd. So the total was 273, and we got that snarky text from Cam saying Quail was played more difficult than Oak Hill. From a scoring average, it definitely did not. Hung around, I think, a shot and a half. Yeah, shot around a shot and a half, I think, per round. Just no one could really separate all that much. Like Scotty only gained, he beat the field by 5, but he only gained 16 strokes on the field total, which you would think it would be a lot higher if you beat the second place guy by 6 or by 5.
Yeah.
So, a couple other wrap up questions. So I was thinking about this. The last 5 years, we've had a run of really good Masters winners and a run of really good PGA winners. So I'm going to ask you, which 5 would you take? Would you take the 5-pack of Hideki, Scotty, Rahm, Scotty, Rory? Pretty strong, right? For the last 5 Masters winners.
Yeah, that's strong. Yes.
And just think about this, not necessarily their form, at the time, but just who they are, in their career
as a whole.
Or would you take Phil, JT, Brooks, Xander, Scotty? It's a good run.
It's a good run.
It's tough. It's tough when you throw Phil in there. Just how great that major was in his career. I feel like that.
Yeah, I'm gonna take the PGA instead of double Scotty. How's that?
Okay, there you go. I think Xander, Hideki would be a wash. Phil, Rory's kind of a wash.
No.
So then you have maybe. Brooks, I would put ahead of Rahm.
Yeah.
JT obviously behind Scotty, and then two Scotties. So that's a tough matchup.
That was tough.
Yeah.
Tough.
And then the typical, how many majors is Scotty going to get? I saw a number thrown out in the Discord. How about 7.5?
Wow. Under.
Yeah. How about 6.5?
Still going to go under.
Yeah, I think 6. You just never know with these guys.
5 or 6.
And Scotty has had, I think, back trouble, in his junior amateur days. So you never know if that's going to prop up again. He's got kind of an unorthodox swing. So you never know. But
I hope you know. I wasn't even in the Discord today because I know people had him in the DFS. I know Andy had him. So I wasn't trying to mush anybody or motherfuck people's bets to death. So I literally didn't even go in the Discord today just to be nice.
All right. Before we wrap up the PGA, as promised, I need to be taken to task for Cantlay again for falling for it again.
We've done this. I don't know how many times we've done this. I don't believe you anymore. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter what I say. Doesn't matter what you say. You're still going to bet this asshole at some point.
You know, I took the narrative street of he's in Charlotte. He's got to be in a good mood because it's the banking city. I should have taken the narrative street of he probably was going to visit the Bank of America headquarters on Saturday, and that's all he cared about. Look, I try and take emotion out of betting. I try and take these guys are losers and they can't win out of it. It's if it already wasn't hard enough with Patrick, it is becoming unbearable at this point. The guy just like as from the fucking jump, just hit it into bunkers, awful approach shots, awful tee shots, just stuff you didn't see last week. Nothing. Emotion. You didn't see that last week at Philly. Like he was hitting it great. He'd been hitting great for like 2 months.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden he gets a eensy bit of pressure of, hey, you know what? I'm playing good. Maybe I can finally get a major. And then he puts up that shit round one, just lifeless golf. Like I don't know. I think there's courses for Patrick that you just play in, these Northeast bentgrass courses that maybe aren't overly long, maybe a little generous off the tee, and then everywhere else like your Harbor Towns or Amexes. That's it. All right. Like I'm not going to say I'm done because I'm never going to be done. I am extremely close and I'm very agitated. I am probably done this week. I will probably play him at Muirfield Village though, because that seems like a Patrick Cantlay course.
Fuck off. Are you serious?
He's won there twice. Actually, technically he won there once and then there's an asterisk on the other one.
Thank you. Once.
Yes. I love Nito. Okay. Do you have anything else in the PGA before we move on to Colonial?
No, I guess not. No, like whatever. I guess. No, whatever.
Okay. All right. Well, let's go.
You can't bet fucking Cantlay at Muirfield, man.
No, because he's going to be like 18-1.
So
no, not doing it.
Okay.
All right. Colonial.
Old Charles Schwab.
Charles Schwab Challenge 2025 preview. Do you like this? We've kind of danced around this.
Yeah.
Do you like this tournament? Do you like this golf course?
Mm-mm.
Really? I like this golf course. I like Colonial. It's a classic. I mean, there's not a lot of flair to it. Nope. I guess it because it reminds me a lot of my club. Just a lot of it's tight, positional. You don't have to use driver a ton, more precision with it. So I think I kind of appreciate this style of golf. I appreciate the renovation they did that we'll get to in a little bit.
The renovation made it better.
Yeah. And it's a tough test. Scoring doesn't get out of control here. It's a tough ball strikers course too. Yeah. Like rarely does
scoring get Kokrak here.
Excuse me. Yep, you had Kokrak. You had Kokrak here because the bunkers were not that difficult to get up and down. You're like, oh, I might as well take Kokrak, and he won.
Right.
So, congratulations to him. You can get some wind here. The greens are usually pretty firm. The rough can be kind of gnarly, that we'll talk about in a little bit. That can yield a very high missed fairway penalty, but it's difficult to hit the fairways here. So yeah, I think it's a pretty good tournament. Pretty solid test.
About like the last two losers who won. Was it Riley and Griot?
Yeah. Yeah, well, we'll get to that in a little bit.
Like that's
the Davis Riley winning by Riley winning by 5 might be the most odd golf result I have seen since doing this. Like out of
who did Griot beat in the playoff?
We'll get to him in a little bit. That was a couple of heartbreaks for this man who got beat in the playoff. But all right. Okay. So I actually decided to just post the official GCSA form just so you guys can look at it instead of me type it all out. Made it easier a little bit. But so this was built in 1936. So I love telling this story because I think you love this story about how the golf course was formed.
Yeah, I do.
So this golf course was essentially formed on a dare. And everybody in Texas said, you know what? You can't build a golf course. It's all bent grass. And Marvin Leonard like, oh yeah, well, I'll show you. And then everybody else said, you know what? I'll triple dog dare you that you can't build a bent grass golf course. And Marvin Leonard freaking did it. So in 1936, he had Perry Maxwell, who also did, he's done a lot of golf course. He helped with, some of the stuff with Augusta National with the green specifically. He also did Southern Hills as well that we saw a couple of years ago. He designed the golf course. John Bredemus oversaw the construction of the golf course, and he had an entirely bent grass golf course in Fort Worth, Texas. And unfortunately for old Marvin, naysayers were right. Bent grass was definitely not the right turf choice to have there in 95 to 100 oppressive heat without the use of sub-air or modern irrigation capabilities. So eventually they ripped up all that bent grass. Well, they didn't have to rip it up. It basically just died on its own. And they planted with all Bermuda grass after that. But yeah, as far as what this golf course is, very tight tree line. It's short. It's only 72, about just under 7,300 yards, par 70. A lot of shorter par fours. There's one, really tough area of the golf course we'll get to in a little bit, but it definitely is a stern test for most of these guys. There was a renovation that happened a couple of years ago, very famously, that we'll go over exactly what changed. That was led by Gil Hance to restore a lot of the greens. They also added sub-air as well to the greens. It was mostly for the purpose of what people don't talk about with sub-air is that when you, like a vacuum, you flip it the other way, the air goes backwards. It actually keeps the roots cool so the bent grass can thrive. It also can go the other way and, get the moisture out as well. So, but that now has sub-air to make sure that, these greens are already very well maintained because they have to be being bent grass in Texas. Now with the new cooling system underneath the greens, it helps a lot. I think actually there's only 12 other golf courses with this exact sub-air system on their golf course as well. They also add new bunkers, new greens. And then up until last year, remember how just rough the golf course looked last year? Mm-hmm. Grass was literally dying, in the fairways and the rough. Yeah, because they were scrambling. This project was essentially an 18-month project that they fit into 12 months. And you also had the winter as well in Texas where they couldn't do a whole lot. So they were
They got frozen over last year?
2 years ago, possibly, but they were scrambling to get this done. They got it done in time, but the golf course was definitely in gnarly shape. And I think that kind of played out with how kind of difficult to play it, how firm it was, and how the golf, tournament kind of progressed last year. Agronomy, obviously I said bent grass greens, Bermuda rough, Bermuda fairways. This is no longer overseeded. We're done with overseeded season. Thank God. Yep. Thank God. The rough is only 2.5-inch Bermuda, but as we've talked about, and we'll talk about for a couple more terms coming up with Bermuda, hitting approach shots to firm bent grass or just firm greens, firm small greens can be very difficult. There's a high miss fairway penalty here.
So you hate overseed. Do you hate overseed or West Coast polo more?
Overseed.
Okay.
Yeah. Overseed is overseed is like the vanity grass. Basically, it's really to make your course kind of look good. I mean, I understand that there definitely is, if you want to overseed your greens, totally fine. That makes it more playable, but just let the Bermuda go dormant, or just do the fairways. Don't overseed the rough.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It's a vanity grass. It makes your golf course still look pretty for, all the old timers to want to play in
You'd be like the cheap courses down in Florida, just fucking spray paint it. I'm like, why is that iron fucking got green on it?
Yeah. Okay. All right. So let's talk about some of the changes that they made to the golf course. So most of the changes they made to Colonial. So when we did this last year, this preview on our old network, obviously I like using Google Earth to look. Well, the latest imagery we had was it was still under construction. So I really had nothing to go off of as far as what the exact changes were. Now I actually, after a year, can show you exactly what they did. So most of the changes they did were a lot of cosmetic stuff. Obviously they rebuilt some greens. One of the biggest things they did was they lowered the greens. And the reason why they did that was over time, in the last renovation, they raised the greens in order to up the challenge of the golf course. Well, for pros, they didn't really care all that much. If they were 2 feet below the putting surface in a bunker or 4 feet, didn't really matter all that much. Didn't impact them with their iron shots either. But it made it much more difficult for the members to play this golf course. So that was an objective, to lower the greens, because that's how they were back in the 30s and 40s. It's very, relatively flat piece of property, and the greens were pretty, low to the ground compared to the topography around them. So that was one of the goals of this project. Also rebuilt bunkers, because just over time they get tired and they need to be reshaped. So they did that as well. But they moved a couple greens on some par threes that had been moved over the years in response to a flood that they had in 1969, related to this creek right here. So this is what the old 8th par 3 looked like. 200 yards. This green used to be by the creek, but when it flooded, it damaged it. So they moved it a little close to, this is the Trinity River right here. And actually, fun fact, if you put an inner tube out and they go floating down the Trinity River, you'll actually get to Trinity Forest, the old site of the AT&T Byron Nelson. Might take you a while, but you'll eventually end up in the dump that they turn into a golf course. So, just pretty standard par 3 right here. 2 back bunkers, 2 front bunkers. Away from the creek, away from the hazards here. But in the renovation, though, kind of like what they did at Memorial Park, where they moved a couple greens closer to the canyons and the creek said, that's what they did here. So they moved the green closer to the creek. They removed some trees as well. This is all barranca. They'll show you a picture of what it looks like here. Just weeds and just like native grasses. Gives it more native, natural look. And they wanted to promote as well, just based where the tee box is and the shape of this, the green, like the kidney, it looks like a kidney bean. You have to hit a nice draw into most pin locations from this tee box over here. Obviously a very, tight right to left shot, very optimal for this, this shot shape here. But if you hit it or overcook it a little too much, you'll either land this bunker here or maybe down in the natural grasses as well. So they brought this creek more closer to play. This is what it looks like now. It just, if you overcook an iron shot a little too much, there's not really a whole lot of room before it either gets caught up in this native grass or down the creek here. So made the iron shot a little more intimidating, a little tougher by moving the green a little closer to the left here. And you can kind of see too, is like, this is not really a raised green. Everything kind of blends in with the rest of the topography here as well. This is the 13th hole. So this was over water. This was a retainer wall that they have right in front of the green. Then you had about a yard of like fringe, and then you got the green here. I was watching a video of Ryan Palmer, and he was talking about the old green. He said, even though the water is right in front, water wasn't really in play for the pros in this hole, because if it was a front pin, they would just head to the middle of the green and putt back down. Like the water's just, they're not even thinking about it. So what they ended up doing was they ended up pushing the green back a little bit to add some bunkers up in front. So maybe make it a little more in play for if there's a front hole location, maybe because there isn't the danger of going in the water, maybe they'll go for it or end up in this bunker here. There is short grass. It does feed away from the putting surface, but there's rough. So it won't go in the water, but you could end up in the rough by the water here. And just, it's probably, a better hole now, compared to what it was. It's a little more interesting. So that's what the 13th hole looks like now. And then here's just another shot of just what it looks like up in front here. You can see this native grasses that would get balls before it gets in the water. But, you can see with some front hole locations, guys might be more apt to go for it and be aggressive instead of just putting it in the middle of the green like they had been previously. So, and then the 16th hole, again, this is the creek that goes through the course here. They moved the green away from the creek as a result of the 1969 flood.
I feel like that's bigger than a creek.
No, it's a creek. It's a creek. I mean, they widen it because it's part of the golf course here. So they widen the channels. But in the renovation, they moved the green closer to the creek here. This again is mostly native grasses. They removed all the bunkers as well, but there's short grass that kind of feeds away from the green. That's now right in front as well. Again, like the 13th though, It's not going to get to the water because there's a little bit of rough before the water here to catch the balls that would run away. But again, like it brings more trouble left if you hit it where the creek's in play. And they remove some bunkers as well. So those are a couple changes they made to par threes where they actually like move greens as well. As far as like the rest of the golf course goes, like this is what the 9th hole looked like. This I would say would be what you expect out of Colonial. Tight, tree lined. You have 2 bunkers over on the left, 2 bunkers over on the right here. Thick trees where if you do miss, you're not going to have a very good shot to the green. You basically just have to try and fit a nice fade in between these bunkers to have a nice short iron to the green here. Well, the renovation, they removed the bunkers over on the right. They removed a couple of trees as well. Still they pushed out some of the bunkers over here as well. But, still basically the same type of holes, like pretty narrow corridors. You still have like this thick rough, or not thick rough, but like, longer Bermuda that can be challenging to hit, especially over the water as well, and there's a little bit of risk reward too, as far as, you can bail out left and, you might have a little bit longer approach shot, or you can try being aggressive, cut over the trees, get a shorter approach shot. But if you're in this rough over here, you got to carry it all over the water. Yeah, that may be a little difficult. So that's one, a couple more of the cosmetic changes they made to Colonial. And then everyone knows about the Horrible Horseshoe. This is the 3-hole stretch around the driving range that plays very tough. Starting with the 3rd tee, especially if the fairways are running firm, you're basically trying to carry it over these 3 bunkers here, but you just have no room to stop the ball. So just a lot of balls just end up running to the rough. Or if you tug a little bit, there's a lot of trees over here that obstruct your view to the green. It's a longer approach shot. It's a very tough driving hole to try and keep in the fairway. You basically have to hit a perfect right to left shot to get the ball kind of running this way. Anything is coming straight through.
What is it? What is that? 264, that bunker right there?
Yeah, 264. This 286 here. And this is all rough as well. I'm sorry. This is the fairway. You just don't have a lot of room.
Right. That's what I'm saying. So you want
okay. Yep. The 4th green as well. So they actually removed all the bunkers around the 4th green, but there's still some subtle undulations that definitely give it some trouble. But the challenge is this is about
3 though, right?
Yeah, it's par 3, 240 yards. If there's a north wind, like good luck in the ball of the green. And then the 5th hole, this is a very, very difficult par 4. You have out of bounds over on the right here. You have a ditch that runs all the way down the left. And it's actually, I think it's the toughest fairway to hit on the PGA Tour because it's so narrow. You have to hit a really precise right to left or left to right fade. You don't have a lot of room. I think actually, I forget who it was. I was watching a video. Might have been Gary Player to get in guys' heads because he knew how tough this hole was. If he hit the fairway, he would turn around and say, "Oh man, I never hit this fairway. Thank God I did." Just to kind of mess with guys' minds about how difficult this hole is. So, but it's very tough. This hole. But yeah, this 3-hole stretch, the Horrible Horseshoe. There was a no laying up video they did a couple years ago where Randy and Neil just played this 3-hole stretch for 6 straight times and they got their ass kicked. It's actually pretty entertaining. It was a good video. So yeah, so that's that. Let's go with some, just general stats here. Like I mentioned, this is a tough ball striking golf course. It is hard to gain strokes off the tee. Yep, hard to gain strokes to the approach. The off the tee stuff, kind of like with Harbortown. I mean, it's more difficult than Harbortown, but it's a lot of tight spaces where everyone's trying to get to the same place. Like either you're trying to squeeze it in between a fairway or bunker, or you're trying to get to the middle of the dog leg. You definitely don't want to be in the rough because it's so difficult to hit and control balls out of the Bermuda rough. So not only is it kind of the degree of difficulty with, how precise you have to be, makes the tee shots tough. It's just hard to separate yourself here with your tee shots well because everybody's kind of trying to hit the same shots. And it's very difficult to hit fairways. The driving accuracy rate here is about 55% the last couple of years, which is well below PGA Tour average. So hard to hit fairways, difficult approach shots. It was difficult last year, 2021. It's always usually pretty difficult. Same thing with the approach shots. Last 2 years, you've seen an increase in difficulty as far as the degree, the approach shots. In 2023, before the renovation, they basically just let the greens go to hell. So they were super firm.
Why did they do that?
Like
But
they
why?
would, well, because they literally knew
They knew they were
gonna
redoing them.
yeah, they're
They
gonna
said,
tear
"Fuck
them
it."
up afterwards. It was like
Awesome.
it was like the COVID memorial where
Oh, okay.
they were renovating the course immediately afterwards, like to the point where they're like on the broadcast, they showed like bulldozers like
The
tearing up
bulldozers. Yeah, I
greens.
remember. Yeah, I remember.
Kind of the same thing happened here where they're like, we're going to tear this up tomorrow. So there's no need to protect anything for the members who want to play this afterwards. So they let the greens just go to hell. Like the balls would literally like bounce like 6 feet in the air. It was absurd. Some of the approach shots that these guys had to play that week. And then last year, because it was brand new greens, it was windy and firm. It was so difficult to hit approach shots. It's probably going to be not quite as severe this year because it's had a year of playing, but usually greens take like 2 years to kind of soften up and settle. So they're still going to be pretty firm this year. I would expect, and especially now they also have sub air, that even if we get some rain, we'll talk to Cam on Tuesday about the weather, but yeah, these greens are probably going to be pretty firm. Like you're probably going to expect to see more of the same. Just the tee shots are always difficult. It's going to be difficult approach shots as well, especially if you add some wind to it. I haven't looked at the weather forecast, but if you add some winds, probably like that too. Just a tough ball striking test, like it usually is. It's not going to be much of a surprise. Around the green and putting, this is where it gets to be a little less challenging. The greens are not raised. I think you can kind of see with the around the green stuff where it got super easy last year. I think it's because they leveled the greens a little bit. The bunkers are not very deep as well. So getting up and down out of bunkers is definitely not much of a challenge. There's a lot of short grass as well. So you can pull putter on some of this stuff. So around the green usually is not an area that's all that challenging. And then putting's gone back and forth. I think in 2022, it was a really windy, at least in the final round, maybe a couple of the rounds as well. But that's kind of an outlier as far as the difficulty of putting. Every other year, though, it's kind of all over the place. Like it was really easy putting in 2023 and 2021. It's kind of middle of the road in 2024, difficult in 2022. I don't know. It was hard to me to kind of square that a little bit. So
yeah, that is a clear outlier.
It is. I remember that the final round was really windy though. So I don't know if that played into it, but
Maybe.
We'll see.
Maybe.
Usually I let Andy cover the missed fairway stuff, but this is important this week because you really do need to emphasize, like, even though it's only 2.5 inch Bermuda, it's pretty penal to miss fairways here. And the last 2 years, it was very penal. 0.4 stroke penalty if you missed a fairway versus if you didn't. But the problem is the drive accuracy rates are only about 55%. So when you have a high missed fairway penalty plus a lot of missed fairways, that's how you keep scoring in check. For the most part.
Makes sense.
Yep. And then the rough penalty, always one of the most penal on the PGA Tour. That's the Bermuda. It's so hard to control the ball and spin when you have firm greens out of Bermuda. Either you get flyer lies or it comes out dead. You just don't really know sometimes. I mean, you play a lot of Bermuda. You know exactly what I'm talking about.
Nightmare.
Yep. So the non-rough penalty is the only one that's interesting as far as last year. There was a spike in penalty for non-rough areas. And usually that would be
Like
either
almost
waist.
double.
Yeah. So that's bunkers or waist areas. And I think the waist areas I showed you, the Barranca on some of those holes, I think that technically counts as non-rough penalty. So that definitely made it a little more penal, especially on some of those par threes. That could maybe explain the spike in, some of that. So, because there are other areas with the Barranca around the golf course. So that could be it. But there isn't really a whole lot of opportunity to hit a lot of penalty shots other than some of the par threes. There's not a lot of water off the tee that's in play or OB either. So
No.
you don't typically incur penalty strokes.
Other than the horseshoe.
Yeah, other than the horseshoe there. Here's the proximity buckets. And we'll get to another golf course that's very similar to this, but this is clearly a test between 100 and 200 yards. You're short to mid irons for the most part.
Yep.
Just eyeballing this, 75% of your shots basically come between 100 and 200 yards. 125 to 175 is well above PGA Tour average. 175 to 200 is kind of floated a little bit between above average and average. So it's about your average rate, 17.4%. 100 and 125 is, a little above average. But yeah, that's really the range to focus on. Guys,
how much of those are like the par threes? In my brain, this is like a shorter curve.
Well, so I think 3 of the 4 par threes are between 175 and 200.
Okay.
And then the Horrible Horseshoe is like 240. So that would fall into this.
Okay.
And then you have your 2 par 5s. Although if you're in the rough on the par 5s, one of the par 5s is like 600 yards up the hill slightly. So if you're in the rough, usually like you're seeing guys just kind of get a wedge in.
Yeah.
On those. So that might explain like why the importance between 100 and 125 is a little up.
Yeah.
Because some of those par 5, one of those par 5s is a 3-shot hole. But yeah, it's just focus on really on that range between 100 and 200 yards. That's going to be key this week. Now let's look at this this list here. So these are some of the comp courses. Sea Island, as far as like data golf, what they show, but this makes a lot of sense. As far as like, if you think about guys who have won here, done really well here, like when I say like, I'll ask you, Capper, when I say course like Sea Island and Austin Country Club and Harbor Town and Waialae and what's like one player? What's like one player you think of?
Spieth, Siwoo.
Okay.
Like
how about a guy that is no longer relevant, that was very relevant when we started our podcast?
Oh,
that has
Paul
given us
Casey.
heartbreak.
Oh, I don't know. I was gonna say Paul Casey, but who are you thinking about?
Kevin Kisner.
Oh,
who?
Yeah, I guess. I always forget about him.
Who has won here, by the way?
I know.
Colonial.
I know. Yeah.
But like, Sea Island, he's won Austin Country Club, Harbor Town, like the courses where you're not, it's not a driving test.
That were good. I sometimes I miss your little Easter eggs in the right.
Yes.
They make me laugh.
Yeah. Well, because this list is very similar to the list that I used for Harbor Town, as far as comp courses, and Austin Country Club was still on the list. So I just changed the caption there. And then the other WGC that was good, Concession, is also on this list as well. As far as
Concession was, why don't we ever go back there?
Because
it's awesome.
I don't know. I mean, where are you gonna put another Florida event and take one away? I mean, honestly, they should take Mexico away.
That's what I was gonna say. Take Mexico away.
Concession.
Take a South Carolina event away.
I mean, well, that's an Oppo event, but I mean, Jack is thirsty to go to his golf courses. So I don't know. Maybe the membership just didn't want to have a tournament there.
Man, I really like that tournament.
Yeah, it's also I think the layout of the course too. You're basically going through the swamp for the most part, so it's probably hard to put infrastructure and get fans through there. So that might be why that was a good COVID.
Golf is a TV product. You've gone to how many golf tournaments? Going to golf tournaments, unless you're like going to golf tournaments, is very overrated. Like trying to follow the action and walk around and get a good sight line and things like that. Golf, just like football, is a television product.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I think people might get bit by snakes and crocodiles if they try to go from point A to point B at Concession.
Alligators, Steve.
Alligators. So, yes. So, but yeah, like, when you think about guys been pretty good here, you think about the guys been good at Harbor Town, Austin Country Club, Sea Island, Port Royal, Waialae, like golf courses where it's more focused on your mid to short irons as far as a test, not necessarily your driving, which is definitely the case here that we'll get to in a little bit. That's kind of what I think about. So this is actually a pretty solid list. Like you basically, you could, and I'll actually do this later.
On here.
Excuse me?
I'm surprised Wisdom isn't on here.
Yeah, I think I cut off at 12. I think it's a shade below. But yeah, like probably Wyndham would fit too. So, all right, so let's look at past leaderboards here. Disgusting. So last year, the weirdest result I can think of, like Davis Riley coming out of literally like nowhere. Actually, like I can actually pull up his, or I'll pull up his report, his results coming in. So last year coming in, he had T14 at Houston, which is pretty good, but then he got cut at Valero, T28 at the Zurich, T30 at the Byron Nelson, T66 at the Myrtle Beach Classic. And then all of a sudden he wins Charles Schwab. So
Yep. I stopped betting on Davis Riley that one time he was in contention and basically pulled a Mito before it was Mito.
Yeah, which I think it might have been here actually. Might have been 2022.
Was it here?
It might have been 2022. Yeah, because he was playing good. I think he just started blasting over the yard. And you're like, oh, I'm never betting him again.
Never been that guy again.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, but not only did Davis Riley with basically no form coming in win, he won by 5. Yeah, he was actually up by 7, like midway through the back
Robbie
9.
Shelton. What happened to that guy?
He's no longer on the PGA Tour. But yeah, Robbie Shelton, T9. But yeah, I mean, like this was actually behind him, pretty good leaderboard. You got Keegan Bradley, T2, Scotty, T2, Colin, 4th place. This was where I started to get the illusion that Colin actually might not be a house cat anymore because he was really good in the final round. It was windy. And he's really good at Augusta National when it was windy. And I was trying to make the connection of, all right, maybe when it gets kind of firm and it's warm, it's windy, maybe that's where Colin is good in wind. And now that's been blown back in my face a couple times. He's just
where am I going to use Colin in fucking one and done? Murphy?
I don't know. That's not a conversation for right now.
Sorry.
Yeah, Substraka T5. And then Sanjay T9.
Meisner. My God.
Yeah. What happened to him? He used to be somebody we used to bet a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know where he's at. Did he get injured? Yeah. I don't think I've seen his name recently.
No, he's still around. Hayden Buckley. That's the guy who's definitely fallen off.
Buckley stinks.
Yeah. Pearson Cootie. Sure, Cam probably have a bet on him this week. But
sure.
This tournament, though, so as far as like how you separated yourself, this is off the tee. Last year was actually a big outlier where you could gain a lot more strokes on the field through your tee performances and specifically with accuracy and distance. What I think was happening was because the greens were so firm and the missed fairway penalty was just so high that you really had to be just in the fairway. And that kind of promoted all the guys who just drove it really good. And that basically is dictated by how many fairways you have. Like, look at some of these like guys, like all these guys are basically towards the top of driving accuracy for the week. This is actually unusual for the tournament where your off tee performance can really separate yourself.
Yeah.
It's more like the next 2 years I'll talk about. But, iron play is about average. And then around the green and putting was a little less than average, maybe because the greens were just so difficult by the end of the weekend where just no one was making putts. No one's been able to really get up and down. But really, it was basically a driving contest last year for the most part, which was unusual for this event because this is more in line. This scatter plot is more in line. We'll get to that a little bit. But in 2023, so you asked, Griot won in a playoff over Adam Schenk. That was the second time Adam Schenk blew a tournament that year. He blew the Valspar earlier that year. Do you remember what happened to Griot though on the 18th hole?
Yeah, he put it in the river and it went backwards.
Yeah, it was just slowly floating back.
Going. That's great. But then he like that was the tournament where he like was like, I don't know, helping the kid hit a ball or something like that. I don't even remember exactly what happened, but he interacted with a small child and it was like good karma and he ended up winning.
Possibly. I don't think I had anyone in the mix of this tournament, so I probably just tuned out by Sunday. So
that sounds right.
Yeah. But here though, this is more in line as far as like how you do off the tee. This is more in line with what you usually expect at Colonial. Just accuracy. Yeah. So accuracy like is more influential on your stroke team off the tee than other golf courses again because of the missed fairway penalty. But like it didn't matter how far you hit it, how short you hit it. Like that was basically had no effect with how you're going to do off the tee and just how you drove it in general that week. Just didn't have much of an influence how you were performing that week. One thing I want to mention though, and this number actually kind of pops out, where Scotty averaged 298 off the box. I remember John Rahm a couple years ago talking about Colonial, saying he really liked it because kind of like at some of his courses in Spain, like Valderrama, he likes, where it's really tight and tree lined, you can be aggressive off some tee shots and try and hit it over the trees to get into a better position. So you can definitely see some guys get aggressive. You just got to drive it really good. Like Tony Finau's used that tactic. He's been good here. Rahm has used that tactic. Well, Sam Burns has been pretty good here. He's used that tactic pretty well. Obviously, Scotty did in this year, but that's not the only way to do it. Obviously, you had a bunch of guys who just played traditionally, Griot and Harry Hall, all these, Ricky, even these are some of the shortest hitters that week. They played it more straight and they were fine. But mostly these tournaments at Colonial come down to how you hit your irons and how you are around the green, which makes sense. And the same thing played out in 2022. Sam Burns wins in a playoff over Scotty, and 9 under. So
Man, Scotty's 100% winning this week, isn't he?
Yeah, he's probably going to pull a. We're not even going to go over the odds board. I haven't looked at them, but Scotty's probably going to win. We'll go more in. Obviously, we'll go more in depth on Tuesday. We're running long, but Scotty wins in a playoff over Scotty.
Oh, Riley again. You're right. That is the tournament he blew up.
Yeah,
Yep.
Riley's T4. Tony Finau played pretty good. 7 under.
Scott
This
Stallings.
also. Yeah, I think this also was the last tournament we saw Patrick Reed and Kevin Na play in PGA. Although
that sounds
they might
right.
have played even more. They might have played even more the following week because 2 weeks after this was Live London.
Yeah,
and the start of Live, which made golf just suck. Outside the majors. But again, very similar scatter plot where off the tee just didn't really matter for the week. That was not a way to separate yourself. There was no correlation really with distance, accuracy. You can see it all over this. There's some shorter hitters, there's longer hitters, there's guys who hit a lot of fairways, like your Brendan Todd's, guys who hit 39% of their fairways, like Kevin Na and Cam Davis. Off the tee was not how you do it. But again, how you do it was around the green and with your approach play, which if I just spell it out for you like this, makes a lot of sense. Yep. You have a golf course that is less than driver for the most part. You can get aggressive, but it's less than driver. You got to fit in a tight corridors, so everybody's trying to hit to most of the same spots. From there, it is a iron test, like a mid iron or short iron test at that point. It's also hard to hit fairways with a high miss fairway penalty where the green regulation rate is really low. So in those situations where there's a lot of guys missing greens, how you separate yourself then is mostly by getting up and down from pretty easy, not all that difficult areas as well.
Yeah.
That's how you get yourself to separate with your irons and with your scrambling for the week. Putting is about PGA Tour average. Off the tee really doesn't matter. Now, because the greens might be still firm, maybe we still see a little more importance in off the tee than we had been, but I would expect as we move away from last year, we're going to start moving more back into these types of tournaments where.
Let me ask you though. It just comes down to almost like a fundamental question, right? So yeah, in the past this mattered more, but now everybody is chasing distance. And look at that. Last year, the top 3, even top 4, Morikawa was 290, right?
So I think this is more a function of if you hit the fairway, the ball would just roll.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just because
not necessarily tactical.
Because if you go back to the Sam Burns one, it was the same thing. It was Burns and Scotty were almost hitting a 300, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then
that's
300.
Yeah, no, that is true. There are guys who have used this strategy pretty well. I mentioned, Finau, Burns, Scotty, Cam Davis, but then you also have everybody else. So yeah, there maybe is something to that take. Kind of like we see a while a little bit too, like guys are using driver a little more. So, maybe it's something to think. Maybe this year will be the litmus test for that.
Okay.
So
okay.
And then as far as the model goes. So a lot of stuff I talked about tonight.
Scotty's number 1? No way.
So a lot of stuff I talked about tonight, though, as far as the difficulty compared to other golf courses with off the tee and approach play, relatively easy around the green and putting conditions, similar proximity buckets as well, and then obviously similar comp courses, very similar to Harbor Town. So obviously I need to tweak this, but I just ran the model I used for Harbor Town, and this looks pretty reasonable compared, for what we would expect.
Absolutely looks reasonable.
Scotty Scheffler, very good here. Daniel Berger has won here before. A Tommy Fleetwood type, like Brian Harmon, Novak would be good here. Like Hideki, Poston, Like Spieth's high up on this list too. Like this wouldn't be
Posted. I mean, what a performance by Posted this weekend.
Yeah, Poston's gonna be very chalk. Siwoo's gonna be chalk, even though he hasn't been very good at Colonial. Ben Griffin had a top 10 this week. He's gonna be chalk. Gerard's gonna be chalk.
My fellow mortgage broker, Ben Griffin.
Yeah. So like if you don't, so obviously you got to change like overseed stuff, some agronomy things, but like if you just run back your Harbor Town model, like
Oh yeah, look at that Rio
you're
too.
probably
Great
gonna be
weekend,
fine.
man. This is gonna be a lot of fucking easy mode. This might be a week we do sweep the most tip chart.
We probably would, and
There's
very top.
There's 5 guys on here I see already.
Yeah, Gerard, Griffin, Poston,
Rio,
for sure.
Poston, Berger.
Probably Novak.
Yep, 100%.
Bud Colley. Everybody loves Bud Colley.
Yeah. What about JJ Spawn? Fuck him, man. What an asshole. He looked so smart on Thursday and Friday, and then he decided he didn't want to remember how to play golf on Saturday and Sunday.
You know, he still cashed a bet for me though. Top 40, and
Really?
it was not dead heated either. So I appreciate that. That's all I was asking for him. But yeah, that was very disappointing over the weekend.
Yeah, tell me about it.
That was good. That was a good call by me, and it
was.
stayed you over the weekend. But hey, listen, it didn't kill you. There was other plays that definitely killed you more than.
Oh, no question about it.
All right, that is it for us. We'll be back on Tuesday for the betting show.
Actually, I just thought about that. My daughter graduates on Tuesday.
Oh, so you're not going to be here?
I don't know what time graduation is.
Okay.
So maybe we do a pre-recorded on Monday, or we go late on Tuesday. Well, it's like 1,000. There's 1,000.
I can't go tomorrow.
Okay.
Either we go late on Tuesday, or I can just maybe you pre-record something with your picks, and we'll splice that in, and then I'll just go.
That's fine. Yeah, we'll figure it out. I literally thought about that as we were recording. I was like, oh, Tuesday. Shit, my daughter graduates on Tuesday. I'm gonna have 2 adults in the world, Steve. I have a 21-year-old.
Wow.
I'm gonna have another one.
Mm-hmm. And then you got what, 10, 15 years until your next one? Like 10 years until the other next graduation?
7. I guess 7 years till the next one.
7. And then your youngest is what, 6?
9. She's 9 now.
Oh, she's 9 now. Damn. You know what? I keep forgetting I'm doing a show for 5 years for you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
So
all right, we'll talk.
We'll talk. We'll figure it out. But yeah, either way, I do want to be a part of the show. We'll have to figure this out.
Okay.
But yeah. So, what was the take you said that I should have leaned into? We didn't even talk about that. What was the take?
Oh God. You said it perfect. You opened the Tuesday betting show that there was a general consensus with how the golf course was going to play, and your natural instincts would want to revolt against it.
Correct.
And it kind of played out that way.
Yep.
Yeah. So
it's because groupthink almost never works ever.
Yeah, that's why I don't listen to anybody else. I just have my own takes, and sometimes I end up having the takes everybody else has, and sometimes I don't.
Yep. Although going with the groupthink Bryson on the one and done, that worked out. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I guess you pick and choose your spots. But yeah, there'll be some semblance of the show on Tuesday. Yeah, if you can go late, let's just plan on going late. I think the graduation is pretty early. I think it's like 6.
All right, yeah, find out. We'll talk.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. But other than that, happy PGA week. Congratulations, Scotty, for being a super boring golfer and winning, I guess, technically a major. Based on that leaderboard, I would say half a major, I guess. If I had twist my arm, half a major. Other than that, laugh out loud, Leafs. Congratulations, Panthers. Talk to you motherfuckers on Tuesday.